Hello and welcome to today's Permaculture Masterclass, where we dive deep into the many rabbit holes that permaculture opens. Just as the permaculture enthusiast eventually takes a PDC, the PDC graduate eventually goes deeper to levels of mastery and proficiency beyond the PDC. And today we are honored to welcome Kathy Puffer, biogas expert, educator, and operator of biogaseducation.com. Welcome, Kathy. Thank you for being here. I'm going to show off your website real quick, and then we'll hear from you. But let me do that, and we'll hear a little bit of your bio. So here's the Biogas Education website. So you all can go there, and then let's hear from Kathy about. I figured I'd just read what you have here, Kathy. So, quote: "I'm all about accessible, practical applications of biogas." All right. I operate my own biogas system in my homestead. I cook with the gas, and I use fertilizer to grow vegetables hydroponically that I sell in a CSA. I am a professional educator on a mission to take dry, technical biogas trainings and make them engaging and relevant for your context so that they become systems that work for you and our living planet over the long term. Yes, thank you very much. Kathy, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been a permaculture designer since I got my PDC in 2014 with Andrew Faust. I am very lucky. I had a community of biogas practitioners around me helping to support me when I was first learning, but it was a very bumpy start first learning how to use small scale biogas. I got our first small scale digesters in 2014. I had no idea how to use it. I was basically YouTubing and in Facebook groups trying to figure this stuff out. And I thought there has to be a better way to do this, which is why I created my educational learning space, biogaseducation.com, the Biogas Education Hub. And one of my favorite things to do is to greet new learners and go together on a learning path. And I think that is one of the most wonderful things about permaculture and coming together as permaculture students and permaculture educators.
Thank you for that. That's a great introduction. And you're coming at us from New York. Is that right? Are you in the city, New York City or New York State?
Actually, I am in the Mid-Hudson Valley.
Okay.
And, we're, in a beautiful temperate climate, and it is hot right now. And it feels a lot like my home state of Florida nowadays with seems like these tropical downpours that we're having of rain. So been implementing lessons I learned from living in a tropical environment here in a temperate climate now.
Yeah, wild, right? Who'd have thunk it? But at least you have that knowledge to draw from. One of the things that I think is great about what you're offering here is, like I said in the intro, permaculture opens all these doors, and then it's like we get shiny object syndrome, or at least I do. And biogas was one of those. It's like, oh my God, I'd never heard about that until I got into permaculture. Amazing. You could spend your whole life doing this. You could make a career out of this, But like you said, you go to try to do some of these things, and you have to a lot of trial and error, a lot of failures, a lot of spending money where maybe you shouldn't have spent money. And so what I'm so grateful for you today and for putting this training together is you're kind of shortcutting all that trial and error. You're bringing people into a learning community, and you have the training on top of it. So it's you're not going to fail. It's just going to be successful and adapted to, your bioregion or your particular context. So thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to this training.
You're welcome. And it's my pleasure to share. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screen share.
Perfect.
Make sure that's loading.
Please let me know if you need anything. I'll just sort of be in the background. I might interject here and there, but mostly I'll just let you do your thing. And like I say, sure. I'm just looking forward to it because I've not taken your class yet. So
absolutely. So let's see. Is this loading? Do you see?
I see it. It came up. Oh, and then it went away.
Oh, let's try again. Hang on. So window and share. Is it there?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, beautiful. Perfect. See a beautiful biodigester.
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay. So, I shared a little bit about my story. It was really challenging first starting our small scale biogas system. And everybody asked me how on earth did you get into this? So I always like to circle back as to who I am. So I'm a mom. I have two beautiful children in like I think it was like in 2012. My oldest was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and a variety of food allergies. And basically the doctor had told us I need to get all the toxins out of the house and I need to really focus on, holistic nutrition and holistic living. And so that's what introduced me to permaculture and natural living, and of course then small scale biogas, right? Because dealing with living systems.
Yeah.
So um when we're thinking about small scale biogas, do we
Oh,
still?
we lost it, Kathy. I
Oh,
don't
you
know why.
lost? Okay, well,
The
let's
screen
try
share.
again.
Yep.
All right, so this is part of the trial and error. This is me learning how to use this software for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. And people are totally, oh, there it is. People are totally understanding of that. So no
Good.
worries at all.
Good. So that's my background. Is I have a degree in special education. I have a master's degree in speech language pathology. And so really where all of this comes together is because it was such a rough start for me with so much trial and error, I decided to make an inclusive learning environment with information that is accessible to a variety of learners across many different ages and backgrounds. So, what I like to do when I'm talking about small scale biogas is I like to compare and contrast to things that we are already familiar with. So, when thinking about small scale biogas, we think about first thing that comes to mind is digestion. And small scale biodigester is basically like a stomach, and we're very familiar with digestion on our own in our own bodies, and it's basically the same thing. So we're mimicking a stomach in which we feed this biodigester food, and it produces a liquid fertilizer, just like how all of us go. And then it also produces methane gas. So in a way it is sort of similar to composting, in which we are taking our food waste and we're going to be producing a fertilizer, but it's different than composting because it is completely anaerobic without air, and it's in a closed container that's filled with water. And instead of that methane just going into the atmosphere, we're actually capturing that methane so we can use it. And how do those, what are these microbes that do the work for us? So they're called the methanogens, or I like to call them the mighty methanogens. These are microbes that are the first living things that were on the planet. And so we can also call them the archaea. And they live without air, and they're in the guts of every single living creature. So, in order to start our biodigester, you think of it as like a yogurt culture. So, we need a culture to start with. So, such as we can be using manures from our animals. So good manure sources are like cow manure. Ruminant animals are a great starter culture for starting our biodigester. And we could also use chicken manure, sheep. So, those manures start the biodigester. And once the digester starts to produce gas, that's when we know that we're ready to feed it. So, it's a simple process of feeding the digester basically every day, feeding it the right kinds of foods, the right amounts, and in the right consistency at the right temperature. So, it's basically kind of like feeding an animal. So, if we are caretakers for ourselves, for our children, for our community, and animals, basically you have all the skills that you need to take care of an anaerobic digester. So, I like to compare it to like feeding the beast, right? So, we're going to feed it bit by bit, which is just the right amount every day. So, we're feeding it every day so we get nice, consistent gas production. We're going to avoid things that would float to the top of the tank, such as straw. We don't want to feed it that, and things that are too acidic. Feeding it a slush, a slurry, so it digests quickly, and then feeding it at the right temperature, which is essentially like body temperature. Pretty straightforward and easy. So, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I love it. Feed the beast makes sense. And like you said, it's like a body. It's just like treating a body. So that's a good way to think about it. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking in the chat. Do we have any questions so far in the chat? So
We
we
do
just
not, but
pause right here.
let's make that offer. If anybody has chat questions as they go, please put them in for Kathy, and she'll either grab them as we go, or at the right time, or maybe at the end. So please do, though. This is great. Keep going, Kathy.
Absolutely. So essentially, in the whole, when we're thinking about permaculture, it's all about fair share. And so when we take care of this anaerobic digester, this herd of microbes living inside this container that is mimicking a stomach, it is going to be giving back to us. And so we think of the ecological benefits that we get, such as using the fertilizer for soil restoration. We're keeping those food scraps in a closed container so it is not attracting flies and rodents. Weed control, using it as a foliar application. Manure management. We keep pigs, and so all the manures from our pigs go into this biodigester. So there is like no smell. You could walk on our property up to the front door, which is less than 50 feet away from the pig pen. You would never know that we had pigs on property because we are managing our manures with the biodigester. Human health. I mentioned fly control. Like we're going to be talking about in this presentation about sanitation and odor control. And then, of course, there's the third leg, which is economic, production of natural gas that is fossil fuel free, that is not fracked gas, right? And being able to save money. So you're not having to pay for propane, you're not having to pay for those lower level of uses of energy, such as cooking fuel or wood. And then thinking of it as creatively with like the liquid fertilizer and using it as a compost accelerator for something, those high carbon things such as wood chips and straw, so that if you had a composting CSA, you could be picking up more customers by putting food scraps that you typically wouldn't put into your compost into the digester, and then getting that added benefit of a quick turnover of that compost by moistening the compost with the liquid fertilizer, which will make quick breakdown of that. And we're going to talk more about that too. So let's see if I can change here. Okay, so what we can feed the biodigester. So it includes things that, like I said, that we typically can't compost or compost easily, such as use cooking oil, grease, whey, and spoiled milk. Meat can go into the biodigester. And I like to think of like, what is your biogas potential? So my favorite thing about having biogas in my kitchen is that beautiful blue flame. I made that myself. That's my flame. And I just love looking at our biogas flame. Been doing it for over 10 years now, and it still makes me feel excited and happy because I know that I produce that myself, because we put our food waste into our anaerobic digesters,
Yeah.
and that produces that cooking gas. And that just brings me so much joy. And so people ask me, like, why do you do this? I'm like, because it makes me happy.
Well, amongst all the other benefits that you get, but that's so rad that it makes you happy. And I'm sitting here going, it sounds to me like compost, but like more efficacious, or you get more benefits out of this than just doing a typical compost system, which many of us permaculturists do just to add fertility. But it's like, this seems to me like the better version of a compost pile. And I'm not trying to diss composting proper or vermicomposting. I do those things and I love those things. But you know what I'm not getting? I'm not getting blue flame out of that. I'm not able to cook out of those compost piles. And I don't know if you saw this, Kathy, but Mark, one of your students, just chimed in and said, I've been successfully running a solar city style digester continuously for a year now. So great class, awesome teacher. Thanks for sharing
Nice.
that, Mark. That's fantastic.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, Mark had a great project. Very cool. And it's always good to see folks back again. Welcome, Mark.
Yeah, and it's always good to hear people who have been doing it for a year, or like yourself, who've been doing it for multiple years. It's like this, once it's set up, I gather, I mean, I guess we'll get to that. Once it's set up, it kind of runs itself as long as you feed the beast daily.
Exactly, exactly. So, other big benefits, we think of the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. And really, in rural areas, small scale biogas is so important because you're using that liquid fertilizer as a direct soil application. So, if there's soil that is incredibly poor, that liquid fertilizer really helps to boost not just the nutrient value, but also the microbes that are in the soil itself. And so these are kind of like the basic sizes that you have for small scale digesters. They could start anywhere from like a little 55-gallon hobby barrel digester that you can make yourself, to some of these larger sizes that you can purchase online through Home Biogas. And there's certainly other sizes that you can make from barrels and IBC tanks. So basically, the thing to remember is scale and size. So if you're thinking of like a family of four and you want to have like about 1 to 2 hours of cooking gas a day, having a digester that is about 1 to 2 cubic meters, which is like roughly like 250 to like about 400 gallons. So that right there would be like the home biogas 2. So it's like about a 350-gallon digester. And like the larger digesters, that is such as like the home biogas 6, which is like 4 cubic meters, that is going to give you up to 6 hours of cooking gas a day. And that would be the size for like a small farm, somebody who is doing a CSA project. So, part of what we do in the class and talking about biogas potential is thinking about how many organic residuals can you be collecting, and thinking about the community partners that you need to really increase your potential. Because if you're a single person, I mean, think about how much food waste or food residuals you're going to produce a day. Not much, right?
Yeah.
No. But if you have like teenagers that don't finish their lunch or their breakfast, like me, I produce a bit more. And then you add on that I have livestock. And right now I am managing, oh gosh, like about 2 gallons of pig manure a day.
Okay.
So, so then that increases my capacity and how much I'm going to be putting into the biodigester. So, for like us, we have 3 cubic meters worth of digester for our homesteads. That's like about a home biogas 4. So, that's like really one of the really important permaculture principles is that, look at details and then we design from that. And this is going to be on the quiz because
Yeah,
there's a
right.
quiz at the end. We're going to do a
Oh, there's a quiz at the end. Uh-oh. Pay attention, everybody. Yes, no, exactly. You got to see your own pattern and then
Mhm.
design for that pattern. And Frank
Design for
actually,
patterns.
Frank has a question about that. And thanks,
Sure.
Frank. He was saying, he doesn't have room for animals. However, there tends to be wild animals like Canadian geese. Would I be able to collect their waste and use that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're doing any type of a fowl, birds, you also have to supplement 50-50 if you're going to be feeding like primarily manures from Canadian geese. You need to be like doing 50% of some other type of animal manure because of the ammonia
Okay,
in any type of a poultry manure. But there
perfect.
are farms that do poultry manure as primary, and then they supplement with a little bit of cow manure to kind of balance it out. Yeah, and dog parks too. That's another great place to have a biodigester
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one.
because that's
And,
like another one you can't compost. You can't compost dog and
right.
cat manure,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. I know people doing those separately completely. Like I have my own dog pile or my own cat pile, but the biodigester makes a heck of a lot of sense for that. And like you were alluding to, Kathy, I'll just point out for the audience, like the criticalness of linking up with neighbors or the local restaurant or whatever to make sure that you're at a certain level, or local farms to get those manures. It probably is critical to the design of your home system, I would guess.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And then we're not using human waste in these systems, right? Though that can be utilized.
Ooh, right here, look at this. So
Okay,
this
yeah.
is the in-ground biodigester from my permaculture teacher, Andrew Faust.
Mm,
So this particular digester is integrated into his home. So during the growing season, it's online. So all the black water and gray water from his entire house goes into that digester. Isn't
right.
that
Yeah,
incredible?
that's amazing.
I
So your
know.
own waste, it's what a perfect circle, right? It is allows you to cook the food that then produces the waste.
Yeah, yeah. And what's really great about his system is that it is attached before the septic system. So during the winter, when it's not warm enough, he can actually valve it offline and then it goes out to his regular septic system. The
Perfect.
only tricky thing with these home systems that are attached to your entire home is that you have to be super water efficient,
Mm,
because you don't want to flush the microbes out of the digester before they finish doing their work.
wow.
But in a house like Andrew's, they are super efficient and aware of that. So
Yeah.
just something to keep in mind with these integrated systems. So biogas, unlike propane, is carbon neutral and it's also lighter than air. And that's like a nice added safety feature to it. So some people ask me, are you worried about your biogas exploding in your house? And the answer is absolutely not, because propane is heavy and it falls to the floor, where biogas will just kind of float out of any crack if there's a leak and go out into the atmosphere. And I don't have a stove here in my home office, but what I like to show people is that when you light the stove, it only lights at the source. So if there is if God forbid, like I left the stove on with the pump and there was biogas in the air, I could still flick a switch and it's not going to ignite because it only lights right at the source because it disperses so quickly in the air. So it also does not have all the toxins in it that propane has, because it does have an element of hydrogen sulfide, which is toxic, but we have a scrubber that scrubs that out. So really, it is simple. It is safe when used appropriately, and it can be used for simple things such as cooking, which is the easiest use. But also, you could use it for a generator that could then be hooked up to charge like an electric motorbike, or to charge your computer in case of a power outage. So there you go. Basically, what we put into our biodigester and what comes out is completely all based on site. So everything that we put into our biodigester and what we get out, if we are feeding it food residuals, and manures that are from the site, and then we're using that liquid fertilizer to grow soil and burn off that methane, because when we burn it, it turns into C2O2. And so it's not that harmful CH4 that we're releasing. We are truly carbon neutral. And Dr. Shiva, I saw her at Omega, and she said that biogas is actually the tightest closed loop of recycling that she can think of, which I think is really incredible, because it is totally common practice in India, even though it is very, very slowly, becoming more popular here in the States. So we think of the carbon cycle, and we were working on getting away from that linear method of like extracting nutrients from the earth and then basically, throwing them away, or, worse yet, burning them and going into the atmosphere. And instead, we are doing that total closed loop of recycling all of those nutrients. So everything that we put into our biodigester, we have nutrient conservation. All those nutrients going into the digester are available in the effluent, and are providing a full spectrum of plant nutrients needed for growing our plants without using fertilizer that is extracted from the earth.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So this is an illustration my mentor, Bob Hamburg, made. And I just like this because it kind of, illustrates for us that circular use and, using those natural systems. I mean, think of the system of decomposition and the nitrogen cycle. And all of that is happening, inside of our biodigesters. So, there's a lot of bad things that happen when we throw things away, and we know a lot about this in permaculture. So, like poorly managed food residuals, they bring in unwanted guests. They, invite flies, and with like open pit latrines that often are seen like in Haiti, this is a really big problem in which flies are able to come in contact with human feces and then travel to food. And so, what we are really working on doing with small scale biogas in rural areas is helping to separate people from waste, from human waste. We want to absolutely stay out of contact with human waste. So this is an example of like a home biogas toilet that can hook up to a digester. And when we're thinking about the safety, the main thing that we have to be aware of is fecal coliform. And so that's why, in my class, I talk about the size of the digester. And if you're going to be hooking it up to a toilet, and if you're going to be putting dog or cat manure in it, the number one thing we have to worry about is fecal coliform, because that can make you really sick, in addition to like other bacteria that can make us ill. But if you look at these numbers, when our digester is close to body temperature, it kills fecal coliform in like less than 50 days. I mean, absolutely amazing. So when it has that time for the microbes to do their work, the liquid fertilizer that comes out is basically inert of all of these different pathogens. Salmonella, 30 days, right? So you're thinking about slaughter waste. Like if you process your own animals on site, entrails can go into the digester. And, as long as you're feeding it at a rate in which what you put in is not going to come out for like over 30 days, then, you're solving the problem of, having salmonella in your fertilizer, because it's going to have enough time for it to cure, and it breaks that down. And so like also thinking about processing on site, it really, reduces that odor control. It completely eliminates the odors, because if you do process like chicken on site, for example, the big thing you have to do is you have to get the entrails off site immediately, because otherwise that smell will bring predators to your site, and they'll go after the rest of your chickens. And so dropping all of that into the biodigester completely solves that problem. And having the right size digester, you're going to make sure that you are not going to have salmonella coming in through to your fertilizer. So I also like to think of these examples, and having communities working together to help solve these problems. And this is an example of a flexi biogas digester in Kenya, where they have a latrine attached to the digester, and you can see that it's a big long digester, so it has plenty of time for what goes in to come out over a long period of time, so that it's then safe for them to use on their vegetable crops. So I just wanted to pause for a moment right here, and I'm going to try to find the comments. Oh, there's more comments coming in.
Yeah, there was one from Argo
Yeah.
that I'll put on the screen here. I feed my biodigester with sugarcane, and it produces many gas. I don't know if that's gas or gallons. Can I continue to feed it with this sugar, aka sugar?
Oh, okay. So sugarcane bagasse. So, that's like has a really high carbon nitrogen ratio. So it's like about a carbon nitrogen ratio, and I get into this in class, is like about 300. It's like way up there, the bagasse, the sugarcane waste.
Mm.
And so for something like that, matching it up, evening it out with something that's like a lower carbon nitrogen ratio, such as cabbage or human manure is really good, because otherwise it's not going to be produced, proficiently producing gas if it has too much carbon. And so that's why we talk about that sweet spot of feeding it food waste, because food waste has a carbon nitrogen ratio of about 30 to 1, which is kind of like what we're looking for. And that's why, food waste is so, food residuals is so great to, feed the digesters. Oh, and I see a picture right there. Oh, and Ronald. Oh, hi, Ronald. Love
Ah,
it.
Ronald. And Mark was saying, and I love this idea, Mark. You proved it at your own site after Kathy's class, and now you're trying to envision how to bring small scale digestion systems to your community. That's where I get really excited too, when these things can
Right.
spread and become sort of a new normal or something in our
Yeah.
communities.
Yeah.
So, what do you think on that, Kathy?
Oh gosh. Well, I think that's really important, being able to have these examples. And I think people really need to see it in order to believe it. And that's why we need to be building capacity for small scale biogas. So there are more examples out there for people to see.
Yep, totally. And
Definitely.
no, and that like no smell thing is really critical to like witness for yourself, to be like, wow, there's pigs here. There's no smell. I would never have guessed. Those sorts of experiences change culture, I think, because it's like your paradigm shifts.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So this is how we cook at our home. We have a biogas stove on top of an electric stove. And I think of, how this is used appropriately. And we're using this for climate action because we are growing soil. I think about responsible consumption. We're using this energy on site. So I like to promote using it on site because it's kind of tricky to transport it. And using biogas is really great for kind of like these lower level of energy uses. So what I like to do barbecuing with my biogas. So like if we have a lot of gas during the growing season, I do a lot of barbecuing. I cook on my biogas stove every single day. And if we have more gas than we can use, I have a little lamp that I light so that I am flaring off that extra methane, so that I'm not allowing that methane to vent into the atmosphere, because biogas, methane, CH4 is like 25 times more potent than any other greenhouse gas in CO2.
Yes, yeah. A quick question on that, and again, you may be covering that coming up here, but how do you monitor how much methane you should use in a day, and to know like, oh, I should off gas a little bit extra or use a little bit extra?
Absolutely. So what I do is we have a biogas bag outside. So this is a picture of a biogas bag right here.
Oh,
So
okay.
like we store it in two different ways at our home. We have it in either a bag or a floating gas system, which you see over here. So
Mm.
basically the bag gets full. I use the gas, the bag goes down. I feed the digester, the bag blows back up. Use the gas, it goes back down. So it's a continuous loop, and we live very intimately with our biodigesters. And so it was that initial process in the beginning of assessing how much gas I needed and
Yeah.
how much I had to feed it to determine how big a digester I was going to get. And so then I only needed to get a gas storage bag that was going to suit my daily needs. So I don't store like 2,000 liters of biogas at my house. I have one 700-liter biogas bag, and that's all I need because I use it every day. And so I am, we're doing responsible consumption. So we're producing it and consuming it all in the same place.
Perfect.
Yeah. So biogas can be done in the winter. On a previous slide up here, I had our basement biodigester. So that's my friend T.H. Culhane who built that for us. So we have like the world's first basement biodigesters. And then, there's simpler ways to do it too, such as having it in the greenhouse. This is a home biogas system that's in a greenhouse outhouse combo. And again, this is like about planning, planning, planning. ahead. Like I chose a site for a greenhouse that it faces south and it has tree cover. So during the summertime, the trees are leafed out and it shades it so it's not super hot inside of the greenhouse. And during the winter, the trees drop their leaves. The sun's lower in the horizon, so I'm getting solar gain inside of the greenhouse. And I have a solar hot air system that runs hot air through cinder blocks underneath the digester to keep it warm in the winter. So it's, when you're thinking about, like all these different choices of like how you can do season extension in a temperate climate, it's all about observing and interacting with your site, and definitely a lot of planning ahead. And this is just another picture of how we do our cooking.
Oh, wait, Kathy, I saw that on your website, that picture. And I just love that shirt, Sustainable Gangster. Come on. Do you sell those?
Oh my gosh. No, no, I don't. I got
Okay.
that from my colleague Stephen Ritz,
Okay.
the Bronx Machine. That's his thing. I love that
That's
shirt.
such a great shirt. My permaculture teacher, Larry Santoyo, back 10 years ago, made shirts called, it had a little skull and crossbow on them, and they're like, permaculture or die. And I always love that shirt too. Like, dang, that's so intense. But I
I know.
love that shirt. That's great. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But that's the biogas stove that we use right now. So, if I need to, I have an extra electric burner if I need to use it. But really, I get all my cooking done with just that little one burner. And then I go outside and I use the biogas grill too. So, really, we are doing a lot of grilling and a lot of cooking, outside. And then we have the solar cookers too for our slow cooker. And honestly, this is a funny story. My electric oven broke on Mother's Day, and no big deal because
uh
we got solar cookers, we got
yeah.
the grill, I got the biogas, and we're fine.
Resiliency, you gotta love it.
Oh, I love it. I'm trying to push it to see how far I can go. And I think I'm not going to fix that stove. I'm going to keep working on this. So
Yeah. Awesome.
definitely. So this is my little soil story. I always like to share a soil story in my class. So when we finish our permaculture design certificate, I think it is like the mission of every new graduate to plant as many fruit trees as you can on your property.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
of course, that's what we're supposed to do. So, like, I had just graduated and I planted my fruit trees and they were looking pitifully sad. Like, you could see my little pawpaw tree on the left is like, yellow, and my apricot trees are yellow. And I didn't know, but I basically had planted them into sand without growing soil. And I went to my holistic management class and they said I basically had 6 months to grow up an abundant amount of soil and organic matter, or I was going to lose all of my fruit trees. And so the way I grow organic matter in soil is it's a very simple process of using the liquid fertilizer on top of straw, and the soil just starts to grow. The organic matter just starts to form. So you can see, like on the left where I started with sand, in on the right side, you can see that straw starting to break down after just applying the liquid fertilizer to it. And then 2 years later, the soil layer just starts to grow and grow. And this is not rocket science. This is just add a layer of straw to the grow bed, put the liquid fertilizer down at the beginning of the grow season, end of the grow season, line the grow bed with straw, liquid fertilizer. I mean, I don't know how else to explain in a simpler way. It is just that easy to grow a massive amount of soil very, very quickly. And our food forest now, look at
Uh,
it,
that's what we like seeing, right? That's just
abundant.
thriving.
I'm getting that palm full of fruit that I wanted to get every single day. Kathy's a rock star. Oh, thank you, Monica.
Yes, Monica.
I
Monica's a rock star too.
She is. Takes one to know one. And we use terraces, and you can see the straw lining our terrace gardens. And just look at how much fruit I have on my elderberry bushes. I got
Yeah.
abundance of tomatoes, grapes, peppers, everything is absolutely delicious. And honestly, I started off doing hydroponics, and honestly, I really don't do it anymore, if I want to be frank, because I don't need to. It's like, why would you want to spend money on electricity to run a hydroponic pump when you got that?
For real. For real. So I'm curious, and again, this may be coming up, so forgive me, or just
Sure.
say, hey, it's coming up. But like in terms of the garden, there's the one application at the beginning of the year, kinda of the bio slurry. Do
Mhm.
you also get like a vermicompost type of tea or something that you can put on once a week? You mentioned foliar sprays because I'm a food forest lover, and a
Yeah,
landscape manager, and I want to simplify my systems, but you're getting, I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me, but how does it go throughout the whole year? What sort of,
right.
if that makes sense?
Okay, happy to tell you. So, early in the spring, like March, I start working on my beds. So I'm like adding the straw, on the edge of the beds, and then I put down the liquid fertilizer. And the purpose of that is to help break the straw down more quickly because of the
Right.
moisture and the microbes. So, and it's also nitrogen too, because there's nitrogen in that, and nitrogen breaks down carbon.
Yep.
So apply that. And so then when I put my seedlings in, then I take the liquid fertilizer. I usually dilute it to a consistency that it looks like, a cup of Earl Grey tea.
Hmm.
And then I just pour that, on the soil right along the line of the plants. So I do a one-time application directly to the plants. And I also go around to like my new fruit trees. Any type of a new plant or a bush that I put in, I do a liquid fertilizer application to the soil. So basically, it's just one time during
Okay.
growing season, and the application of liquid fertilizer to the straw is to just simply help to break that down
Yeah.
more quickly. So then the growing season's over. I release the chickens because I'm a lazy gardener. The chickens go out there and they do a great job, like tearing up whatever is left. And then I go ahead and put down another layer of straw along the edge of the bed, add more liquid fertilizer, and I'm done.
Do
Well,
it
actually,
again.
I got the order wrong. I add the straw and release the chickens, because then the chickens also scratch, which
Yeah.
helps to spread the straw on
Right.
the grow bed, which covers it. So super, super lazy method is straw along the bed, chickens eat the greens that's left, spread the straw. I do another application basically on the straw, and I'm done. So
Like it.
effortless.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
it
what we
is.
want. That's what we want. More and more effortless systems because of our intelligent design, right? So this is like
Exactly.
checking all the boxes here.
Oh my gosh, and I love chickens. If you're gonna be doing this, it's like you really get, the most out of this, especially if you have chickens and you have animals. You really get so much benefit, doing this whole systems approach.
Yeah.
So biochar is another thing we can use. So, using biochar and then the liquid fertilizer on the biochar to help break the biochar down faster. So like that's, something else we can use. And I went over the direct application of the soil. And this is where I get all geeked out, because it's so exciting. When you take care of your biodigester, it stays pH neutral. And guess what? That liquid fertilizer, when it's pH neutral, you've done a great job of taking care of your biodigester. Look at all of these nutrients that are available to be absorbed by your plant. It's all bioavailable.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And so, this is, a hydroponic system that I used to grow with, but I have one hydroponic system growing right now for lettuces. And so that's kind of all I do with the hydroponics is grow lettuces, because in the vertical aeroponics, it really helps to be growing lettuces that way because they stay cooler. And so I'm able to grow lettuces longer in the season. So weed management, if you chop them up, or like managing water hyacinths with, biodigesters, that's really great, because water hyacinths produce like a wicked amount of gas. This is something they do in various parts of Africa is actually grinding up water hyacinths to feed to biodigesters. And, these are some of the programs that I worked with at the University of Notre Dame and then Haiti, where they still have the biodigesters running. And, my friend Ronald is, you know, from that part of Haiti and Haiti and is still connected with that program. And, this is really how we build capacity. It's right here. It's like doing the community outreach and inviting people over to see your system and to see how to do it. People need to see this. And so, like in New York City, you can go see a working biodigester at Earth Matter on Governor's Island, UMass Student Farm. I'm an advisor for Northeast Biogas Initiative. And, people who are interested can come learn with me. My course is Seed with Small-Scale Biogas. But, I was thinking it'd be really fun if we were to do a Kahoot together. And I just wanted to, thank you again for being here. And does anybody have any burning questions they would like answered? Before I switch screens here, because I thought
Yes.
we'd have some fun.
I love it. I love it. That's so fun. I have a couple questions, but
Go for it.
I'll share one and then see if other people come in. First is just is there a distance between where your biodigester can be and like can you pipe it? Like I'm thinking because where my compost is sort of on the back of my property. I'm only
Right.
on a third of an acre, but could I pipe it to my house, which is on the front of my property? What's the distance component?
Okay. So it depends on a few different things. So it depends on where you want your stove to be. That's the big one.
Yeah,
And then how much schlepping. I love that Yiddish word, to
it's a good
schlep.
word. Yes, it sounds like what you're doing.
I know how much schlepping you want to do of like bringing your food residuals from the kitchen to the digester. So, if you really want to integrate a system into your home, the price goes up because then that involves a lot more plumbing. If you're going to do something simple out in the yard, sort of like having, a little built IBC tank digester, you're going to be carrying it out to the yard and pouring it into the feeding tube. But ideally, you don't want your stove, like more than like 30 feet away from the biodigester, because then it's going to take more pressure to
Right.
push the gas from the biogas bag. And the greater the distance, the more pressure
Yeah.
you lose.
Okay.
So
That makes
really it's all about siting. And so, that is something that I pay really close attention to, is that it goes with our workflow where we're placing the digester. It's someplace sunny where it can be kept warm. I talked about that in the slide with the greenhouse, and that it's close enough that you're not going to be losing pressure wherever you decide to place your stove.
Now the basement ones, those are obviously in a basement, so they're not kept warm. Does that affect performance?
My basement, I got it insulated. I had a opportunity to sign up through, I think it was I forget the program, but there was a program that was available where we got a discount for getting our basement spray foam
Oh,
insulated.
right.
And so it actually keeps the basement like above 65 Fahrenheit, even in the middle of the winter.
Okay.
So our basement is above ground, and the biodigester is actually plumbed out to septic.
Cool.
So we had like this Goldilocks situation with our digester. It's really unique.
Yeah, but that's cool too. And then last one for me is these little 5 gallon ones. These are like mini biodigesters so people can get an experience with
Like,
them?
yeah, it's like your science class digester.
Perfect.
So it's not something that's the size that you're going to be cooking from. This is something that is more like a science experiment where you can have students putting in different kinds of feedstock to see how much gas each of the feedstocks produce.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. And then before we go into the Kahoot, I don't see any
Yeah.
questions coming in. Just real quick again on your course. When is that open? Can people join immediately or should they wait for a certain period of time?
Sure. So if you go to my website, biogaseducation.com, there is actually a link where you can sign up for email alerts. And let's see. Oops, let me put it up here. Okay. So you can go to my class, www.biogaseducation.com. And there is a link at the top where you can sign up for email alerts about the early bird special, because my class is super affordable.
Yes.
You are getting like 1 hour per week live office sessions. So I have a class that happens at 7 p.m. where new material is introduced. So it's a total of 12 modules in the class. And so new material is introduced on the Wednesday night at 7, and then it repeats the following Wednesday at 6 a.m. for my students that are overseas. So if there was a class that you missed on a Wednesday night, guess what? You get to get up at 6 in the morning and join us. So so it's really neat, because if you took advantage of like all of the Zooms, it's like you have the opportunity to attend like 1 hour per week, but really it's like bi-weekly as new material. And these are live sessions in which we are joining together as a community. People are sharing their questions and experiences and learning together. And so like we're all on this learning path, and then they get a workbook too. Basically, it's like your site design workbook.
Wow.
And so even if you just made it to class once a week and you were doing the workbook, by the time you are finished with your workbook at the end of the class, I'm like, guess what? You got your site design plan finished. You know how big your biodigester is going to be. You're going to know who are your partners, and where you're going to be getting your feedstocks from. And I always tell people, you are totally welcome to go on YouTube and figure it out yourself, but why?
Yeah, why? And especially at the price,
Crazy.
I mean, it's like you said, it's very affordable. You could be charging 5 times as much as, and it would still be worth the cost, in my opinion. So with that price, the community sharing aspect, and then live teaching, so you have direct access to Kathy and all of her knowledge. I mean, come on. I would much rather do it with y'all than have to go figure it all on my own over the next couple of years. So that's
Yeah,
great.
exactly, exactly. And we have fun. That is the best part of the whole class. I mean, we have such a good time. I think that is my favorite thing. So I'm going to be sharing these slides with you via PDF that you can share with everybody when we're finished. And without further ado, I'd really like to start the Kahoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is really fun. So what you need to do is you can go to www.kahoot.it with this number, or you can scan with your iPhone the QR code.
Mm.
So let's see. You can get in, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to scan it. I don't know
All
if it's
right.
too small.
So this is the quiz.
Do, do, do. Are you waiting for me? Because it didn't work.
Oh,
I'll go to the Kahoot.
okay.
Dun, 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 dun. 409.
Oh, there you are. I'll wait a couple more minutes, see if other people join us.
And then what do I do? Do I just what do I hit?
You
Create?
just wait. I'm waiting for people to join the Kahoot before
Oh,
here we go. I got more people coming in. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
this is fun. It's already fun. This is
I get
great.
you to make your own avatar. It's great. Let's wait another minute. I got 3. So what do you think? Do you think I should start? Because other people will probably join.
Yeah, probably start, and because you'll have to get out of here
Oh,
soon too.
here's Mark. Okay, great. Super. All right. Well, we got 4. This is a game. Here we go. So I'm going to read it. And if you're playing from your phone, you're going to see the different color icons appear on your screen. And so you can either use your phone as a remote to respond to the questions with the colors, or you can click on your computer. So the first question, getting fired up about biogas. I just wanted to get a temperature reading for everybody. Do you feel confident? Do you love the idea? I'd like to ask more clarifying questions. This topic is new to me. I'm not sure I know much about small scale biogas, and I'm interested in topics similar to this one. So it's just counting down right now. So like 30 more seconds. Oh, we got 3 answers in. You should get another one pretty soon.
I messed up and I didn't do the thing right. So I'll just have to answer. I'm confident. No, I love the idea. That's where I'm at.
Love the idea of small scale biogas. Great.
Yep.
Super. Okay, here we go. So we're going to get our results in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ooh,
Oh, 4 answers there. Good.
Someone came in right at the end there.
All right. So
All
70%
right.
of you said you love the idea of small scale biogas. One says, I'm confident and competent. Woo! Love that. That's
That must be Mark.
Mark. Okay, here we go. So the variety of nutrients going into a digester are available in the fertilizer, a full spectrum of plant nutrients. So we're thinking of the permaculture principles from David Holmgren. So is that an example of self-regulate and accept feedback, observe and interact, use and value diversity, or respond to change? So it's a full spectrum of nutrients. That's the hint. We've got how many? 0 answers so far.
Oh, weird. Yeah, like I say, I messed up. I didn't get I went to kahoot.com, not .it.
Okay. I got 0 responses.
But my answer was use and value diversity.
Yes, because it has the full spectrum of nutrients. Yes. There you go. Okay. So next to, so nobody responded to that, so it shows our scoreboard. All right, here's the next question. So you got to be quicker because it's on a timer. Human waste that attract flies and carry disease is fed into a biodigester to eliminate pathogens. Is that an example of use invaluable renewable resources, design from patterns and details, use and value diversity, or use and respond to change? What is probably the best answer for that? Okay. Hurry, guys.
I'm going with design from patterns to details.
All right. Got 1 answer. There we go.
Yeah, definitely that too.
But you know what? There's no wrong answers to that. That's good. All right. I love it. Great. Here we go. Where are we? Ah, Mark is in the lead.
Mark's killing it.
Awesome. Growing soil by laying down straw from animal bedding and applying the liquid fertilizer as a compost accelerator. Is that an example of catch and store energy? Integrate rather than segregate, obtain a yield, apply self-regulation, and accept feedback. I got 15 seconds.
It's like all of them, but yeah, no, it's I'm going with catch and store energy. That's what I think.
Okay.
Obtain a yield, definitely.
Okay, great. Yeah, it could have been the other one too. Yeah, this was hard, like trying to figure out, okay, which one would be the closer to that?
Yeah, the primary one. Yeah.
Primary, exactly. Okay. Mark. Okay, true or false? Small scale biogas is only for rural settings. So
false.
Examples I showed you. All right. Collecting our responses here. All right, false. Oh, look at that. Mark's on fire.
Uh-oh. Be careful, Mark. You're going to start cooking with your own gas soon.
All right, here we go. Next one. You carefully size your digester so it can handle the typical amount of food you may be feeding it daily. Design from patterns to details, use and value diversity, use edges and value marginal, you can respond to change.
Yes, that one I like. Design from patterns to details for sure. because you're really looking at the patterns of your own life and
Yeah.
sort of lifestyle. Yeah.
Good. Well, we'll see which one did. Ding, 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 ding. Good. Everybody got that one. Or I should say, I picked the right one.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Next question. You no longer send slaughter waste to the dump, but place it into a biodigester.
Yeah.
That
Cool.
observe and interact, use and value diversity, produce no waste, use small and slow solutions, which is the best answer.
Produce no waste is what I would say. Too much fun. Oh, there's the pin. Oh, I still can jump on. Okay, I agree, Mark.
All
409.
right. Everybody got produce no waste. Love it. Mark is unstoppable. All right, here we go. You place a digester uphill from an area with poor soil to gravity feed the fertilizer to the target site. So integrate rather than segregate, obtain a yield, use and value diversity, observe and interact. Which one is the best example of this permaculture principle?
I'm going observe and interact.
Right, 5 seconds. Excellent.
And it is segregate too. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. That too, definitely. Like I said, this was tricky to really kind of tease out like which is the best example.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about all the principles anyway, is they flow
Absolutely.
all sorts of different ways.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Your biodigester may produce more gas than you can cook with. You add a biogas lamp to your design to burn off the gas. Small and slow solutions, apply self regulation and feedback,
Wow.
use and value diversity, and integrate rather than segregate. This is the best answer.
Mm.
So here's a hint. It's the one that goes with like obtaining a yield. That's it. Number 3, use and apply self-regulation and feedback.
Yep.
It's really because like really it's a lot of so many things in principle are about, obtaining that yield and, that applying self-regulation and feedback is also about like, taking that yield to like the next level.
Right.
So great. And where are we? Oh, look at those points. I love this. Okay, here we go. A composting cooperative uses the fertilizer from the biodigester as a compost accelerator to increase their capacity.
Yeah.
Is that an example of use small and slow solutions, use the edges and value the marginal, integrate rather than segregate, use and respond to change? This was another tricky one. I had a hard time teasing out which is the best example. But
Yeah, me too. Maybe use
yeah,
edges and value the marginal.
I
Mm.
know.
Use integrate rather than segregate. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So when I think of that, rather than just like giving up your compost, you're using the fertilizer with the compost and you are integrating that digester into your site where you're like taking things that you typically can't use in your compost and you're putting it into the biodigester and then you're using that liquid fertilizer on the wood chips because people sometimes ask me like, oh, can I put like straw into my biodigester, wood chips into my biodigesters?
Right.
And the answer is, why would you want to do that when you could take the fertilizer and put it on those high carbon items and have it turn into beautiful organic matter so much more quickly because you're integrating it together instead of just using each of those for what you previously would have used them for by themselves.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
Absolutely. So here we go. And almost finished. Where can small scale biogas be implemented? Small scale biogas can be implemented across many settings with accommodations, only in rural settings, only for tropical, And small-scale biogas is unattainable in temperate climates. So there's two answers to that.
Yeah, I think it's the red one. Can be applied pretty much anywhere. I mean, I'm sure there's some
Wait,
limitations, but
wait,
with
hang on.
accommodations.
Oh no, it's one. It's one answer. Sorry.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep.
Boom. Can be applied across many settings with accommodations. Great. Isn't this fun? I'm having such
This
a good
is,
time with you guys. This is
yeah.
fast.
Thank you for bringing the Kahoot in. This is a Kahoot.
Oh, well, this is multi-select.
Okay.
Major storm is coming. Oh my gosh, it's hurricane season, category 5 in July. Here we are. So increase your biogas production for extra gas in case of a power outage. So it's that catch and store. So it's two of them. Catch and store, creatively use and respond to change, produce no waste, apply self-regulation and feedback. So this is a 2-answer one.
Yeah, I think it's catch and store. That's what I would select, and creatively use and respond to change.
Okay, let's see how you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my gosh, like that
But it's
hurricane.
also accepting feedback.
Oh, that's true.
There we go. Yes.
Boom. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's scary. It's beginning of July and we had a category 5 in the Atlantic already. I mean, we have to be ready to be more resilient. And so when we know that there is like a major storm coming our way, I absolutely uptick how I'm feeding my digesters
Mm.
and, also storing additional gas because I'm anticipating that we are going to have absolutely no power. And this happens to us in the middle of the winter with an ice storm. And it also happened to us recently. These storms that we're getting here in the Northeast are very powerful and they're blowing the trees down, knocking down power lines. So we absolutely need to be more resilient.
So you do occasionally store methane?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool.
Like I have a biogas backup bag. Okay, temperature check. How do we feel about small scale biogas? Green, great. Yellow, I'm not so sure. Red, I'm kind of concerned about it. How are we feeling, everybody?
Happy green guy for me.
All right, I love it. I got 2 answers, 3. All right, yay.
Good.
Happy, happy, happy because biogas is awesome. Love it. All right. So stay connected with us. I am on Facebook. I have my own YouTube channel. I have some reading suggestions. So, like anybody who is like super serious about integrating these systems, I love books such as Reusing the Resource, by Steinfeld, and of course the Home Biogas Manual, which is like a yay thick. I know, very good too. So all of these I'm going to send in the PDF version of the slides for today's session. And just thank you so much. And I really enjoyed this session with you all. And I'm so glad that you all were here to join us.
Yes, thank you, Kathy, and thanks for the resources. So if anybody needs the slides with all the hyperlinks in it, comment and we can put that in the comments, or we can reach out to you. We'll send that out to all PINA members too in the next newsletter, so everybody gets that as well. And Kathy, this is great. I already knew that I was really interested in doing a home biogas system at some point, but now I just am like, I feel like it's much more doable knowing that you've put in the groundwork to sort of create this course and learning community. So I'll be joining you guys at some point, hopefully soon. And I hope your class fills up, and just keep doing the wonderful work you're doing, Kathy.
Thank you so much. So registration for the 6th cohort opens on August the 5th, along with my early bird special.
Yeah, man. The price that you're selling it at is so affordable. So I really appreciate that. I mean, as a marketing sort of like nerd, I would say, Kathy, you could probably sell it for more, but I appreciate your sort of commitment to like, let's just make the bar very low so everybody can get in and get the knowledge that they need to get started. That's what we need. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And have a great week, everybody. And we'll see you at the next live stream. Come on over to the PCX. That is PCX.Earth is a social media site that we want to bring more and more permaculturists to. It's run by PINA and ARC, and it's all about permaculture and regenerative sort of solutions. And we're building courses there. And maybe one day we'll be able to co-host the biogas course on there with Kathy. We'll see. We would love that. But thanks again, everybody, for being here live. Kathy, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.